Well, all of you that do so much to help the game of golf, to help those in need, you've got a man right here receiving your top honor that does the same week in, week out. I'm telling you, as a witness to it, I won't go through all the stories, whether it's the charitable contributions, anonymously, percentages of his winnings, things along those lines, that he's done to truly help and change lives. But Tom Lehman is as deserving of this award as any of those great names on there, and they're all my heroes. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I say we start with 1999. It's still fresh in all of our minds. It's less than 20 years prior. So my dad's Ryder Cup team was 1981. He had 9 Hall of Fame members, 11 major champions, and his sort of the unheralded guy on his team was Larry Nelson, who his first 9 Ryder Cup matches, first 2 times he appeared in the Ryder Cup, we went 9-0-0, and I said to him, he was in the hospital, Dad was, watching you guys in 1997. I said, Dad, who's your Larry Nelson? Who's your stud among the stars that maybe people don't know the name like they know Tiger Woods, et cetera, but who's that guy? And he said, Tom Lehman. He's not just that kind of a player, but that kind of a man who you could get behind and rally behind. And he bore it out in his first 2 singles matches, in his first 2 appearances. First one was, everyone knows Seve Ballesteros, great name and all that. This Patriot made sure that his last match was not going to be a W. So you ended up beating Seve. Then in 1997, did you even play the back 9 against Garrido? I mean, you crushed him so.
Yeah, it was like 8 and 7. I know.
So then when Ben Crenshaw, he knows he needs a victory early on, but he also knows he needs a big victory early on. And one guy who not only would go out there and win his match, but just keep going with his foot on the other guy's neck until it got done, was Tom Lehman. Yeah. When he said to you early, you're the strongest guy I know, that's why I'm sending you out first, what did that do to you in terms of pressure or in terms of inspiration?
Well, it was a big moment. It was an important moment. But first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for such a warm greeting tonight. And you're right, these guys are my heroes too. My heroes, the guys I've looked up to and guys I respect so much. And so to be here with you all is a very humbling thing, to be with such great people who have given so much to the game of golf here in this state and around the country and around the world. So it's a significant night for me. I wish my wife were here. As you saw, I'm definitely married way up. You were right about that. But you know what? Leadership, to me, leadership is not always about, the smartest guy in the room or about the guy who understands everything about everything all the time. It's about inspiring your guys. It's about making your guys believe in themselves and believe in what you're trying to do. And so I'll never forget that morning, Brookline, it was the singles and we were down 4 and I was out first. And I was out first against Westwood. Hal Sutton was following against Darren Clark. And being 4 points down, we all knew that if we didn't win the first 2 matches, the chances of winning the match were going to be pretty slim. So there was a lot of pressure on, and I was nervous. And and I was laying there getting stretched, and Ben walked up, and he actually put his whole hand on my heart, just kind of went just like that, right there, just put it right there, and it said exactly what Dick said. He said and that gave me the courage, I think, or it reinforced the courage, knowing that my captain believed in me. And I think when you show a belief in somebody, really that's the ultimate in leadership is when your guy knows that you believe in me, and then you go out and perform that way.
And you were performing, obviously focused on what was going on. Not sure if you were watching the scoreboard for other matches, but you were done, like I said, early, able to go out and really experience what was going on. I was there as well. Yeah. I've never experienced anything like in the game. What was it like to be a part of the team experiencing that?
Yeah. Who all was there? I mean, who all was there? I mean,
Oh, everyone.
A lot of people
Every
were there.
single person in the room?
Yeah, there's a couple of moments that were I did look at the board. I watched the board, intently, and I got off to a good start, and I was, 1 up, and then 2 up, then 3 up, and when I got to the 13th hole, by that time everybody's on the golf course. There's all 12 matches on the course, and so it was just one of those things like being at Augusta. It was just these huge roars just everywhere. A big roar over there and a big roar over there, and you could just tell, who it was by where they were and what was going on. You just knew the U.S. was winning hole after hole after hole, and the scoreboard was, just nothing but red. I mean, just red across the board. And so I think I was 3 up at the time, and I had about a 30-foot putt, and I made this putt. And when I got about halfway to the hole, I started following after it because I knew it looked good. And then I got 5 feet short. I knew it couldn't miss, and so I started running. And then it went in, and I ended up running. I just ran right past the hole. Didn't get my ball, okay? And I ran right off the green. I ran all the way to the next tee without stopping. And I ran past my wife and Julie Crenshaw, and they were both bawling. They're just sobbing, tears down their face. And so, then 2 holes later, I was walking down 15, and some guy in the crowd yells out, "Tom, you're a corker, you are." And I'm like, well, I guess that's a positive thing.
I hope so.
Anyway, but I remember that very clearly. And, so it was one of those days. And then the third memory, obviously, was, and this is a great story. I mean, you may have more questions, but I'm just rambling now. But
Go.
we all loved Payne Stewart. We all loved Payne Stewart and miss him to death. Very classy guy, a great sense of humor, also a very sentimental and soft-hearted soul, very confident. I mean, this amazing mix of all kinds of different things. Just, prankster, kind of cocky and could be arrogant, and also emotional and sensitive, and a family guy. And he was crying one night talking about his father, and very emotional, talking about how he wished his dad could have been there and to watch that Ryder Cup. But he had this big top hat. It was a red, white, and blue with stars and stripes, a top hat like an Abe Lincoln hat, this big, tall thing. Okay, and he was wearing it around on Saturday night, and he said that he was going to put it in his bag because he was going to wear it on Sunday as he walked down the 18th fairway, because he was playing Colin Montgomery, and he was expecting by that time we were going to be winning and there'd be a victory march. Well, as it turns out, it's exactly what happened. And he was the last match on the course against Monty. We had already clinched the cup, and everybody goes sprinting for the green. Everybody's running. Literally, both teams are running, trying to get ahead of the crowd to get to the 18th green. And Payne gets up on the green, no hat. Didn't put the hat on. And so later on that night, I said, "Payne, why didn't you put that hat on? You had the Stars and Stripes hat. You said you were going to wear it. Why didn't you wear it?" And he says, "I just couldn't do it to Monty. He thought it would have been disrespectful to Colin Montgomery, kind of like piling on. Our team had won, and to wear the hat would have been disrespectful and disrespecting his competition, so he didn't wear it." And I think that said volumes about who Payne Stewart was as a person.
And it's similar to you in terms of respecting your opponent, et cetera. It's something that I've seen over and over again in so many different instances. Take us to the aftermath, after they came up. Crenshaw was on my dad's team, and I saw him as he was going into the locker room, glimpsed in the locker room there. I had never seen a group in this individual sport that closely knit, that emotionally bonded. And what was it like to be one of those 12, 13 if you can go to bed?
Yeah, well, you may know more than I about the great Ryder Cup teams in history. I think there will be a handful that go down as maybe the best teams ever put together, and I think that team might be one of them.
Sure.
Just when you look about who all the guys in that team were, and I think it really showed how much our players really care. I think there's always been that talk about how the U.S. team isn't close, the U.S. team doesn't care, and I think you saw a really close team who really cared a lot. And I think if anything, our teams tend to put too much pressure on themselves, because they care too much in some ways. So. But yeah, there was that party that night. I mean, I probably shouldn't, speak out of school, but
go ahead.
But Tabitha Furyk can drink more than any man in this room. I'm going to tell you right now.
Love it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to try and help Captain Davis Love, the ace maker from Augusta, make this team similar to that team in terms of whether it's closeness, performance? How can that happen?
Well, I think more than anything, you have to love the Ryder Cup. And I'm not talking just love the concept of the Ryder Cup. You have to love playing in the Ryder Cup. You have to love the competition, and you have to love the man-on-man element, and you have to embrace it. You have to enjoy it. I know we did this thing. Remember, we did this thing at the Allianz, and we did a Q&A at the Allianz, and Colin Montgomery was part of the panel, and I asked Dave, hey, ask him some questions about the Ryder Cup. I want to hear the way he thinks about the Ryder Cup and how it may differ from the way Americans, and so he did. Dave asked a couple of pointed questions, and the bottom line is this, is that, Monty and Faldo and Sevi and Olazabal, those guys love the competition. They love the playing inside the ropes, me against you. They loved it, so, and that's what we need. I really, truly believe that our teams, we put, like I say, put so much pressure on ourselves that the competition part, they play with fear of what happens if I fail. And so therefore they don't love the competing part because there's too much of the what if going on. So I think what we have going for us this year is we have a whole kind of a turnover. We have, our former leaders of the team are now, they're a little bit older, Phil and Jim Furyk if he makes it. But the real true leaders of the team are going to be Ricky Fowler, it's going to be Jordan Spieth, it's going to be guys like Dustin Johnson and Zach Johnson, and it's guys with a whole different attitude who are really looking forward to winning. All I hear is like, we can't wait to go win this thing. We want to go win this thing, and they seem to be embracing. And so I think what we can do for them is to really set the table for them to enjoy the experience of playing in the Ryder Cup. They enjoy hitting the shot, enjoy of making a putt to win a hole, enjoy the crowd's reaction, enjoy the challenge. We'll define.
For so many years, that's what it was all about. There was a lot of pressure, but also a lot of enjoyment, be it captaining or playing on Ryder Cup teams. Let's go back before the Ryder Cup, before the champion golfer of the year for the 1996 Open Championship. Back to those, maybe some of those shots that you hit in Q School, or maybe one shot. Yeah. Was there a turning point, one shot you can point to as that's the most important?
Yeah, there is. Everybody talks about is there a one moment like you ask, and to me the whole thing about being successful in golf is, do you believe in yourself or don't you? It's really quite simple. Those who believe in themselves do well. Those who don't. And so I always struggle with confidence. Coming out of, I grew up in Minnesota. I was way behind the curve with experience, way behind the curve competing. Was gifted physically, but didn't really believe that I could beat those guys. And so somehow I had to learn that. And actually, it happened at tour school in 1990. 1990, I had won a tournament on the Hogan Tour and had to go to tour school, and I shot like 78 or 9 the first round and got off to a really bad start the second day, but then started to turn it around, and by the time I got to the 72nd hole, I was back to 1 over par after having been like 13 over. I had to make a birdie on the 18th hole to make the 4-round cut, and if I make the 4-round cut, then the worst case scenario is I get a Hogan Tour card for the next year. So it was really a big deal to birdie the 72nd hole. Pin was back right, there's water short, water right, and everybody knows that I like to hook it. And so it was a perfect, shot for a little cut. And I thought, well, you know what? You can hit that shot. You got to man up. You just got to be courageous. You got to be strong. You got to be mentally tough. Just hit it. And so I stepped up and hit this beautiful cut shot. And of course, my cut shots are more like a straight push. Okay, and I pushed it straight at the pin. Okay, and it ended up like about 1.5 feet for a tap-in birdie to make the cut. And that one shot with that pressure just kind of turned the corner for me. And the postscript was that there's still 2 more rounds to go. And I came to the last hole, the 108th hole, and I had to make a birdie to get my card. Mm-hmm. It was 5 under par now, and it took 6 under to get your card. And it was a driver 5-iron par 4, a tough long hole, and hit a beautiful 5-iron in there about 18 feet or 15 feet just right of the hole, and had the benefit of a guy who was playing with who had the exact same line as me, only a little bit further away. So I was right on his line, and I watched his putt, and it just started right, and it broke across the hole and broke low. So I just thought, okay, it's played a bit higher, and I hit this putt that it was perfect. Just you hit the putt, you go, I can't miss. Up just a little bit higher, started to break right into the center, and at the very end it stopped breaking, caught the top lip and did a 360 horseshoe, didn't go in. And literally, it's the only time I've ever cried on a golf course because something bad happened. I walked off the green in tears, knowing that, okay, 1 more year of missing the tour school. But the good news is that I had learned through the course of that experience to trust myself and to believe in myself.
And then you started making other people cry on the golf course, which was nice. When I looked out, I couldn't see everyone's face, but I didn't see any other major champions here or players of the year or all that, but a whole lot of folks that maybe have hit shots that weren't as great as your one on that 72nd hole at Q School, maybe some sideways shots. Does anyone want to hear about maybe a not such a great shot that Tom hit? I mean, is it the right time for that? You're the honoree. If you have any that come to mind, maybe one from Beth Page Black or...
Why don't you?
I love this one.
Well, like I always say that on the one hand, I'm the only person who's ever won the Player of the Year award on the Hogan Tour, then the PGA Tour, then Champions Tour. So when you do anything that's never been done before, you know, you feel good about it. Well, I did something at Bethpage, which I guarantee you has never been done before. So we get in the fifth hole, or the fourth hole, I forget which one it is, but it's a par 4, you tee off up high, and the fairway kind of diagonals away to the right this way, and there's a big bunker on the inside, and so you try to cut off as much as the bunker as you can in order to shorten up the hole because it's a long hole, and so I thought, I'm just going to take it over everything because I'm really hitting it well, I'm driving it great. If I can take it over the whole bunker, I can probably hit an 8-iron, you know, and so I just crushed this drive down the right side, but I just hang it a little to the right, 15 feet maybe, you know, enough. I know enough where it's probably maybe going to catch the right rough. And so I walk out there, and I'm looking for a ball in the first cut, and no ball in the first cut, you know. I'm looking for the Marshall up there in the right rough, no Marshall in the right rough, and I'm looking, you know, where could this ball have gone? And I look in the crowd, the crowd's all still there, they haven't backed away, and I see a Marshall kind of stand right by the lip of the bunker, but I think, well, there's no way it's in the bunker. I knew I carried the bunker. Well, it turns out my ball had hit a guy in the crowd in the knee, and it had bounced backwards towards the tee, and it kind of ran through the rough, back uphill onto the back side of the bunker. So now I had this severely downhill lie with the grass growing over the ball, you know, about 10 inches long, you know, okay, and I had no shot. Okay, so I'm like, great, you know, hey guy, how's your knee doing? You know, a big old welt on his knee. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm a tough New Yorker. I'm fine. Okay, fine. Yeah, thanks for the good break, you know. Well, so I get out my sandwich. I'm just going to hack it back into the fairway. And the more I got over this ball, you know, it's like, you know, as us golfers know these downhill lies, I mean, you're like, well, you really got to get the angle, you know. So it's this really steep lie, and I keep on aiming further and further left, and the crowd's over here, and as I aim further left, the crowd starts to back away. They start moving away from me. I'm like, well, I'm not even aiming that way. And I go, why are you guys moving away? The guy says, you're probably going to shank it. I'm like,
New Yorkers, okay.
like, you know what? I haven't shanked a ball in 20 years. There's no way I'm going to shank this. You're safe where you were. So they all move back up to the rope, and so I get out there, and I take this big swing just to hit it back to the fairway, and I cold shank it. And I hit the same guy in the chest.
I love it. He does things no one else does. Player of the Year, et cetera. You mentioned Payne Stewart.
Yep.
You mentioned the courage that you marshaled on that 72nd hole. Your good pal, friend of mine as well, Bernhard Langer, second to last group at Augusta National. What is it about you guys, maybe a common thread the three of you guys have, that gives you a serenity when you're out there playing, or that kind of courage?
Yeah, well, by the way, I was really pulling for Bernhard on Sunday, and you know, I love Jordan Spieth. I felt bad that he didn't pull it out, but you know, I watched him play for 4 days, and he hit so many poor shots, so many flares to the right that I thought it was just a matter of time that one was really going to catch up to him, and it did. And but he'll be back. He'll win more than his share. But you know, Bernhard, he plays with this amazing sense of peace. I mean, and if anybody can deal with victory or defeat, it's him. I remember when he missed that putt in the Ryder Cup. He had a putt to win the Ryder Cup, about an 8-footer or a 6-footer, and he missed it. And you know, if anybody can deal with that, it's Bernhard Langer. And then the very next week, he made the same putt to win a tournament in Europe. And anybody can deal with a win, it's Bernhard Langer. And Payne Stewart had the same peace. I mean, you know, and I think the common thread is that the faith that we share is a faith that gives you peace no matter what the circumstances. And you may not like it. You may not like losing or missing a putt or a failure. And it may motivate you and make you want to work harder, but there's a sense of peace and acceptance that, hey, you know what, it's not the end of the world, and there's a lot more important things in life than a golf tournament. And so I think my faith has helped me to kind of keep the highs from getting too high and the lows from getting too low. It's just a way to deal with the ups and the downs of life, knowing there's way more important things, which is why, quite frankly, I do the things that I do off the golf course. It's to me, that's where the real significance lies.
Absolutely. Now, the establishment of the James E. Lehman Scholarship, which is just something wonderful.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll memorialize your dad to a degree. When all is said and done, and you see your dad again, and you know you will, what do you think you'll be most proud of?
Well, I know what I want to say to him. My dad was an athlete. He died, it'll be 6 years ago, 7 years ago now in October, but he's a tough competitor. And he wasn't the kind of guy who was going to pat you on the back and say, "Oh, don't worry, Tom, it's okay." You know, but he also wasn't the kind of dad who was so driven that he didn't care about your feelings. But he knew exactly how to motivate me. I'll never forget my rookie year. This is what I'm going to tell him when I see him next. My rookie year on the tour, you know, I think I made like 10 or 11 cuts, and I missed almost every other one by a shot, like 13 or 14 cuts by a shot. And so I was always hovering right around the cut. And this particular tournament, the Byron Nelson, I missed the cut by a shot again. And I called home, and, you know, I may have missed, you know, 2 or 3 in a row by a shot now. And so I called home, and it was just, you know, wah, 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 poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, you know, up against a tree in a divot, you know, the wind switched, you know, every excuse in the book, okay. And my dad was dead quiet, and I was expecting him to say, "Boy, that's too bad, what a tough day." And he was like, "I tell you what, why don't you pack your crap in the car, come on home and get a job?" No, I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I mean, he, with that one sentence, you know, he got me totally switched from poor me, to like, you know what, there's no trees in the middle of the fairway. You know, stuff like that. You hit the ball straight, you know, or don't 3-putt, you know, just, you know, it maybe you want to work harder, you know, but he knew how to motivate me, and he did it with an unconditional love, and he was, without question, the driving force in my life, and to this day still is. That's why the scholarship means so much. It's a way, he was a great, strong Catholic guy who just loved his family, loved his church, loved his community, loved his family, loved the people around him. This is very fitting for him, so I'm very happy for him.
Well, I'm glad you picked that time to not take his advice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all are, because our game and this community has gained a fantastic friend, someone who you can emulate, look up to, always know that dependability of Tom Lehman, not just to motivate the youngsters playing in the 2016 Ryder Cup, but also to be the man you expect him to be and a guy who you can follow. It's something that's important as far as I'm concerned. Thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Tom Lehman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Give it.
So do we walk?